Now this is the video I know a lot of you have been waiting for, and it's finally time to talk about it. Behemoth. Now back in May I was invited to go up to London to try out this game for myself, and that I did. I headed into London to experience Behemoth on the PSVR 2. Now there's a few things that happened to me while experiencing in this game, and we're going to go over them all in today's video. We're going to start off with my experience in the game. We're going to then dive into what the game is about so I can give you some solid information about the game itself, and then we're going to dive into the questions you've directly asked me about Behemoth. And then we're going to finish off, well, why did this leave me just feeling sad? But we'll get to that part right at the end. First of all, let's dive into my experience playing Behemoth on the PSVR 2 and the build I got to play. Now to explain the situation with this, we are going to be diving between two sets of footage here. Sadly, on the day, the footage I captured of me directly playing it corrupted. Sad times, these things happen, but I do have some B-roll footage of the gameplay. What you're going to be seeing on screen is PCVR footage of the game. On top of that, we also had the footage of me on the day playing it, where you can see on the screen next to me, which is the PSVR 2 footage. Now I'm going to be cutting between these things because as I reference stuff that I physically did in the game, I want to be able to show you a representation of that because, you know, you can still see me doing it. And then of course, when I'm cutting to B-roll and stuff, just know that that is PCVR footage. Now, just like you guys, I was set into this experience with only having seen the CG trailer. I got to see nothing else of the game until I physically got into that room. Now, when I put the PSVR 2 headset on and dived into it, the first thing that hit me was just sheer wow factor. This game looks phenomenal. Now, on the PSVR 2, and I know a lot of people are going to have this question, how did it look? Did it have reprojection or anything like that? Honestly, it looked magical. It looked so damn good. It was actually hard to believe that I wasn't playing a PCVR build of this. The way that they achieved that is through the dynamic foveated rendering, i.e. sort of like eye tracking and tracking where you're looking to make that image look the best where it is. Now, it makes it look amazing and genuinely jaw-dropping at some points when you get to see some of these environmental shots. As you're walking through the level and experience it for yourself, it just blows your freaking mind. And of course, we'll get to this a little bit more in a bit, but when you see a Behemoth up front and in person for the first time, wow, it's one hell of an experience. Now, the experience we actually got to play on the day was a bespoke one that was made directly for us to enjoy. The way that they did it is they basically cut a bunch of different bits of the game together to be able to give us an experience like using the grappling hook, having some good combat fight, traversing around the map, and then of course finishing off on a huge battle with a Behemoth. Now, to kick it off, one of the first things that you learn to do in this game is use your grappling hook. Now, it can be used in a multitude of different ways. First off, you can use it to like traverse terrain, so you can shoot it into like wood panels and stuff like that and pull yourself across. You can also shoot it into stuff, detach it, and then grab it with the hands and pull it down like you're opening these giant gates and stuff, and it just looks freaking dope. You use it in battle as well. You can like grapple it into people, as well as using it in the big Behemoth battles. So all in all, the grappling hook just felt jaw-droppingly good. It was so freaking good. In fact, I've never felt anything quite like it in VR before, so highest of praises when it comes to the grappling hook. Now, for me, when I saw the CG trailer back in the day, sort of grappling hook in trees and pulling them over and stuff like that, I was like, I don't think that can be done. Or even just dangling off of things and all the other wonderful things that you see in the CG trailer. Well, I'm here to tell you that they've literally achieved every single one of those things, and every one of those things is possible in the game. You could quite literally grappling hook a tree trunk, yank it and smash it into an enemy, killing them, and that is no problem. It's a thing. You can grappling hook into like overhead things and swing around, no problem. You can ascend and descend like Spider-Man on this thing, no problem. It kind of does everything you would expect it to do and just a little bit more, whilst feeling ultimately satisfying the entire friggin' time. With this, when you get in there, you kind of have like this cursed effect that will happen on your hands. There's also this effect that when you use a super strength buff, which is something you can activate at any point in the game, you kind of push a singular button push and then it gives you this super strength for a little bit, which is going to come into effect to be very useful when you fight things like the Behemoth, or of course if you just want to fight some of the people that are around in the map as well. It gives you that super ability to like be able to just one punch them to death. Next, let's dive into a bit about the combat. The combat feels very fluid and good in this game. I will say it definitely is not anything even close to Areshi Castle of Sins. Now, a few people have asked me that question. Please say it's not as bad as that. No, it's not. And I'll openly say it myself. The Areshi Castle of Sin combat was just, it was some of the worst I think I've seen in a VR game. And this is definitively not that. This feels a way more like Saints and Sinners-esque type of thing. A mix between that and just a genuinely good sword fighting experience. And the reason I say these things is, well, man, the up close and personal stuff you can dagger them in the side of the head, you still get that satisfaction that you would have got with a walker in Saints and Sinners. But of course, on top of that, you have like this whole sort of strength system that's going to be working as you fight and parry and everything within the normal fighting experience. Now, the way that the combat kind of works in this is it works on like a stamina system. So your stamina, you know, if you run out, then it's going to be a lot harder to fight. There feels like there's a lot of weight to the weapons and stuff, which really aids in the fighting feeling quite damn good. And on top of that, there's a freaking huge array of weapons. You've got axes, swords, all these different various types of daggers and stuff like that. There's like a one button switch where you can spin your swords around and you can sort of like backwards hold them and stuff like that. It really adds to the experience where it just feels very, very, very good. The experience I had with that is clean. Also, while you go through this, you're not just going to have lots of regular enemies running around. You also have like little boss moments where you're going to fight sort of bigger, stronger sort of dudes. And when you're fighting those, it just feels like a really nice battle, kind of very Dark Souls-esque. You know, you have to think about what you're going to be doing, how to get around them. They have like these attacks that are just unblockable, so you can't parry those kind of attacks. You need to dive back, really think about what you're doing, get into the battle, and of course use your environment, whether that means grappling hook a huge chunk of wood out of a wall, bam, and smashing into them, or whether it means just tactically moving out of the way and fighting them through that. I guess that leaves us off at one last place, which is of course fighting a behemoth. Now, I don't want to tell you too much about this because I don't want to ruin the experience for you when you finally get to meet this behemoth for yourself, but what I will say is the fight felt freaking amazing. There's a lot of really key points where you get to interact and fight to take down this guy. Again, I'm not going to tell you the key points of how to do that because when you get in this, like, I just don't want to ruin this experience. I want you to have the same experience I had. But I will tell you, the scale of them feels out of this freaking world. It's just so crazy to see something that big that you're fighting that just feels so good and fluid when you're in the fight itself. Like, they've got a really good sequence of events that are happening that keep you on your toes the entire time, whilst that sort of impending doom of a ginormous creature like that feels as big as a freaking skyscraper fighting you. It really felt to me like this entire gameplay experience from start to finish was one of those ones where I've never had these sensations in VR before. From the grappling hook mechanics to the combat was pretty decent as well. Like, the combat wasn't something I've never seen before, that's for sure, but it felt very good in the game. The environment is unlike anything I've ever seen in VR before. It just looks so good. The draw distance was freaking insane, and I just felt like I could completely lose myself in that environment in a way I haven't probably done since playing Skyrim back in the day. Then on top of that, the boss fight at the end really just united the entire experience, again giving me a feeling that I've just never had in VR before. And walking away from this whole experience at the end of it, I was just like, I took off my headset and I was just freaking smiling. I was so damn happy because I was just like, finally. I mean, I don't know about you guys, I've just felt very drained in the VR space recently, where I'm just not getting, you know, I'm not blowing my mind when I play games anymore. I'm not just got hit by that entire wow factor by anything anymore. But this for me was that moment I've been waiting for friggin' ages, where I just literally felt actually genuinely mind blown. Now, is this an open world game? No, it's not an open world game. I'd call it a semi-open world game, if you will, because it feels like there is this grand exploration that's happening within it, but you are being taken on a linear path. There are sort of like I said before, some sort of directional changes you can make in places, but they're all going to lead you to the same area at the end of the day. This is a game with an amount of time that you can play in it, and that time is supposedly around about 12 hours at the moment. Now, when I was speaking with one of the developers about this, they gave me a fantastic answer on why they've made this game about a 12-hour game. Now, the reason they gave for that is they really want people to play this from start to finish. They want people to experience their entire experience, and they want people to actually get from A to B when it comes to this game. Now, I know a lot of you guys and girls can probably relate to this, and with something like Saints and Sinners, where it was just so big that you could quite literally put like a 80 to 100 hours into that game and maybe not even see the end because you got so lost in scavenging and doing these things as you go through the game that kind of just detract from the experience and end up in the result of you never actually fully completing it. Well, they don't want you to have that experience here. They desperately want you to start to finish it, and honestly I think this is going to have that replayability to it where you're going to want to get back into there. I didn't get confirmation on this, but I would really love a new game plus to this, like get in there and you get to keep everything that you've earned in there, but the game gets progressively harder. That would be a really good incentive to be able to jump back into this game and re-experience it. And I think just in general that this game is going to really, in my mind, thrive from the fact that it is a 12-hour game. I think it's a good thing. So let me know what your thoughts are on that in the comments down below. Personally, I think this is an absolute win because it means you will get to experience this game from start to finish. The other thing that I would like to say as well is there is a ton of Easter eggs around this place. Like, you could just run right through places, but you will miss a lot of interesting stuff. If you want to take time to learn about the lore of the game, or pick up herbs to get your health back, or just the general Easter eggs around, then it's worth taking the time, which I think will expand that 12 hours gameplay anyway. So you can just absolutely jet through this game, but if you're like me, you're probably going to be hunting around for a little bit of Easter eggs here and there as you go. The other side of this is, yes, this game is going to be coming to Quest as well as PSVR 2 and PCVR. That's a great lineup in my opinion. No, I have not played the Quest version of this game just yet because unfortunately, you know, on the day with these things, you have a set amount of time. There's a lot of press coming in to be able to cover this, so they can't just give you it on everything. They're just going to give you it on probably, which I assume was the easiest thing to be able to travel internationally with, which was a dev PS5, and then of course the PSVR 2 can plug straight into that. So yeah, I got to play it on PSVR 2. I've seen the PCVR footage. Of course you guys have as well now because I've been cutting it in throughout this, and we've yet to see the Quest. But from my understanding, the only thing that will be different is, of course, like that graphical power. It's interesting enough as well, not locked off to the Quest 3, so Quest 2 players are still going to be able to enjoy this as well. I'm hoping that they give us a bump for the Quest 3, but again, a question I don't actually have an answer for. Now let's dive into a few questions that you guys and girls had, so let me answer those as quickly as I can, just to be able to help you with any of the burning questions that I know you guys have been asking. First one I've got is, what would I compare this game to that's out at the moment? Honestly, Shadow of Colossus is probably the closest thing that we've ever had to a game like this on the scale of this, but the only difference here being, of course, you're in first person because you're in VR and you're getting to scale these creatures yourself, so that's probably the closest thing that we've got. Maybe the only other thing that I would even give like closeness to this for would be something like Skyrim, just because of the sort of the vastness feeling of the world. Now of course you can't explore to the degree that you can in the open world of Skyrim, but it gives me that same feeling of when I first walked into Skyrim and I'm just like, oh wow. You know, the wow factor. Now, a lot of people had the same question, which is the pulling down the bridge scene an animation, or is that something you do? It's something you entirely do. You literally grappling hook into that thing yourself, then you have to pull back and you get like a tension bar at the bottom. Once you've reached the maximum tension needed to pull down something like that, you then have to pull and boom, it'll fly open on you. And that's how that works. Like, you physically have to do those things. They are not animations, they are not cutscenes. You absolutely have to do it yourself, and it feels damn good. Another popular question I got was, does the upper body sort of like rig, does it feel like Saints and Sinners? Honestly, kind of yes. It feels very fluent and good. You don't have like an infantry system in this though. There's no like backpack or anything like that. You don't need those sorts of things. They detract from the experience. They really wanted to focus on you basically being able to store a weapon on your back. Of course, you can store a couple of weapons. And of course, mainly just that feeling of power and being in the moment in the game. They didn't want to detract from it, making it really slow with an infantry system. So the way this works is you'll just like dosh the herbs and stuff into your back as you go through the game, but then when you get to like the crafting stations, that's the point where you'll do sort of any crafting, and then of course buying from the selling stand. Next question is, will there be any sandbox features to this game? Yes, there absolutely is in fact a sandbox feature to this game. You can go in and you can just fight waves upon waves of people in this incredible arena that I got to fight in at the end. The arena that I got to fight in at the end was super freaking dope, and I can show you this a bit in my own personal footage when I was going in there. Like, you can literally grappling hook and whiz up places. You really learn how to use the systems best, so you can really mess around with your grappling hook, ripping down like trees and freaking pulling people into like spike traps and stuff like that, or just getting in and getting used to like the bow and arrows, the swords, all the different various weapons. On top of that, you get to learn how to properly grappling hook and swing while you're in there. It's actually a very useful feature as well as a fun feature, but it will keep you locked in for a lot of fun in that sort of sandboxy kill room type experience. How many bosses are we going to face in this is another big question I've asked, and it is one I asked personally whilst in the interview section of my sort of press moment, and well, I cannot confirm how many of the behemoths you're going to meet in this game, but there are multiple, and from what I've been told, they scale upward and just keep getting bigger. So while I can't say a definitive amount of them, there is definitely more than one, and I would say probably more than two. But They just keep getting bigger, and you kind of get a bit of an inkling of this in the shot that you see in the trailer that they have at the moment, as you get to see a behemoth up there that definitely isn't the one that I fought. And I guess that takes us to the last point. As I said at the beginning of this video, there was something that made me sad about this game, and honestly that thing is that I had to put it down. It's one of the few times that I finished a game demo on something like this and I'm genuinely emotionally sad that I can't play it again. Like, I don't have access to play this myself at home. I can't replay this whenever I want. This is something I had to specifically go somewhere for. They're not releasing this build to any of us. So yeah, it was one of those emotional moments where I was just like, damn, I have to wait a while before I can play this, same as everyone else. I haven't been given like a definitive date yet. I don't think they've released a definitive date for when this is coming out. We just know that it's coming out soon. It's going to be this year, so be hyped for that. Honestly, my sort of leaving sentiment on this entire experience would just be like, wishlist this, prepare to just lose yourself to something for 12 onward hours, and honestly, yes, this is as good as it gets. One of the things I said to the development team when I was at the event was, it's pretty incredible that you guys actually over-delivered on the CG trailer, because not only does it look as good as the CG trailer, but it plays better than what I imagined I would be playing when playing in that CG trailer. So that's one hell of a final thought to be able to leave this video off on. Of course, if you have any additional questions, feel free, ask me in the comments down below. I'll do my best to get back to as many people as humanly possible. And of course, again, I am going to get to have a chance to hopefully play this again before its release in the not too distant future. So any questions you have that you want me to get answered by like the development team or anything, again, ask them in the comment section down below. I can take that with me the next time I get to experience anything like this, and well, you know, be able to provide you with the best feedback ever. I know there's a few other YouTubers and news channels that have got a chance to do this as well. Recommend checking out their videos. Hopefully they feel the same way that I did, but of course you never really know just one person's opinion, so check out some other videos. And other than that, I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.